Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the club, our guests and viewers from all over the world. We welcome you all to the grand finale of the Vasantya Club Spring Fest 2022. It has been a very interesting and intellectually stimulating month, and we were able to accomplish what we set out to do of conducting a small lit fest online in anticipation of the actual physical one we hope to do later in the year. Tonight we pay tribute to the greatest showman, Raj Kapoor, the actor, the director, the producer, his stories, his volume of work, and the music from his movies. His genius altered the course of Hindi films, and his music resonates within us even today. I now welcome very talented, and if I may say erudite, Ms. Neelam Kohli, who has scripted and will be hosting the show tonight.
Thank you.
She researches, very welcome Neelamji. She researches each artist she covers in deep detail and highlights relatively unknown facets of their lives. And tonight also, she will take us through the various aspects of Raj Kapoor's life, interspersed with songs from his movies. Also delighted to welcome back the Luth group to perform for us this evening, whom we have had with us on previous occasions too. Luth is a group of amateur singers who came together during the pandemic, and it includes individuals from various professional backgrounds and also from different parts of the globe. The list is endless. It's Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Roorkee, the US, UK. It only keeps growing. This evening also, we have singers, I just learned, from Nairobi, from Bombay, and different parts of India and overseas. And we would love to welcome them all to the show. Before I hand over to you, Neelamji, I would like to thank you all for being back with us. Over to you.
Thank you and good evening. In September 2017, a huge fire gutted a major part of RK Studios. Precious memorabilia, the props and costumes used by the stars of RK films, which had been carefully preserved from Avara right up to the last RK film shot there. Everything was destroyed. The studio, which had almost been a place of pilgrimage for cinema lovers, was finally sold in 2019, ending an era when RK films were conceptualized and shot there, music sessions were discussed and planned at RK Cottage, and Raj Kapoor's famous Holi parties brought together the entire film fraternity. RK Studio was indeed Raj Kapoor's Karam Bhumi, his place of worship, and every penny that he earned by acting in movies of other producers was invested in creating films for the home productions. Let's salute the great showman's passion for cinema and start the evening with a prayer from his film Satyam Shivam Sundaram, which was shot in a set created at RK Studios. Singing it today is Seema Mansingh.
Sanjula.
USB audio.
Just a second, please.
Yeah, battery 90%.
ईश्वर सत्य है, सत्य ही शिव है, शिव ही सुंदर है। जागो सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् सुन्दरं सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम् रामावध में काशी में शिव कान्हा वृंदावन में दया करो प्रभु देखो इनको दया करो प्रभु देखो इनको हर घर के आंगन में राधा मोहन शरणं सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरम्
Raj Kapoor was born into a well-known family. His father, Prithvi Raj, was an established theatre and cinema personality. But even more than that, Raj's own destiny seemed to be in a rush to steer him to pinnacles of success. By the time he was only 24, he had already starred in 8 films, married his first cousin Krishna Malhotra, started his own production company, RK Films, in 1948 with the film Aag, and become of his time the youngest producer-director in the world. He was looking for a studio to shoot Aag and had gone to meet Jaddan Bai, the famous singer who was one of the first women to own her own production house. And when he rang the doorbell, Jaddan's daughter Nargis, who was frying pakoras in the kitchen, opened the door and accidentally smeared her hair with her basin-covered hands. Raj was so captivated by her innocent beauty that he cast her in Aag. And actually, he used many of his own experiences in his films. Remember the scene when Rishi meets Dimple for the first time in Bobby? That was an exact replication of his own first meeting with Nargis. During the initial years when RK Films was struggling to establish itself, it was Nargis who was Raj's companion and inspiration. And she played such an intrinsic part that even the logo by which RK Films will forever be recognized was created from a scene from their movie Barsat. Raj Kapoor with a violin in one hand and Nargis draped over his arm in romantic ecstasy. It's the embodiment of their magical screen chemistry. Let's hear a song from Barsat from Seema Sharma. Hawa mein udta jaye.
हवा में उड़ता जाए मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का जी मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का हो जी इधर उधर लहराए मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का जी मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का हो जी हवा में उड़ता जाए मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का जी मोरा लाल दुपट्टा मलमल का
Ram Ganguly was the music composer at Prithvi Theatres, and after Aag, he was to compose for Barsat too. But he was caught trying to sell a tune created for Barsat to another producer, was dismissed, and Raj asked Ganguly's talented assistant Shankar and his friend Jai Kishan, the equally talented harmonium player at Prithvi Theatres, to take over as music directors of Barsat. The third member of Raj Kapoor's music team, poet Hasrat, had come to Bombay in 1940s from Jaipur, and hearing him recite his nazam, Mazdoor Ki Lash, an impressed Prithvi Raj Kapoor sent him to Raj at Prithvi Theatres. There, at the same canteen which we visit even today, Raj Kapoor was waiting with his newly appointed music composers. Jai Kishan played the tune on the harmonium, Raj picked up the dholak and played the theka, and Hasrat was asked to write the lyrics for the tune which Ganguly had been caught selling. And the tune was, Jiya beqarar hai, chai bahar hai, आजा मोरे बालमा तेरा इंतजार है जिया बेकरार है. This was in fact the debut song of Nimmi in Barsat. It earned Hasrat the honor of being welcomed to the RK camp. And the next one to join was poet Shailendra. He had been actually approached by Raj to write the lyrics of Aag, but had curtly refused, saying, my poetry is not for sale, and especially not for films. But a few months later, when he needed money to send his pregnant wife to the village, he approached Raj Kapoor. And at that time, 6 songs of Barsat had already been written by Hasrat, but Raj took him on as co-lyricist. And the last one, Mukesh, whom Raj described as the voice of his soul, completed RK's music team, and together they created magic. From General Gajria, let's hear this song from the film Dharam Karam, which was the last Mukesh song to be picturized on Raj Kapoor and has Shailendra's simple but profound lyrics.
एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोह, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे वो. एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोह, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे वो. दूजे के होठों को देख ले अपने की, कोई निशानी छोड़ फिर दुनिया से बिक जाएगा माटी के मोह, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे वो. ला 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 ला. अनहोनी पथ में कांटे लाख बिछाए, होनी तो फिर भी बिछड़ा यार मिलाए. अनहोनी पथ में कांटे लाख बिछाए, होनी तो फिर भी बिछड़ा यार मिलाए. ये बिरहा ये दूरी दो पल की मजबूरी, फिर कोई दिल वाला काहे क्यों घबराए. करम ममतारा जो बैठी है मिलके कहती है,
Barsat's huge commercial success enabled Raj Kapoor to purchase 2 acres of land at Chembur and set up RK Studios in 1950. And the next year, he started planning Avara. The story required characters from 3 generations. Raj thought this was an ideal chance to showcase the Kapoor family. The film's writer, Khwaja Ahmad Abbas, managed to persuade a reluctant Prithvi Raj Kapoor, but little did Raj know what lay ahead. His grandfather, Diwan Basheshwarnath Kapoor, was given the role of the judge. He had served as a police officer in the Indian Imperial Police at Peshawar, and he not only refused to learn his lines, but more than that, had no hesitation in scolding his embarrassed grandson, saying, "अब तू अपने दादा को सिखाएगा कैसे बोलना है? क्या तुझे कानून के बारे में मुझसे ज्यादा पता है?" Raj had no choice but to sheepishly beat a hasty retreat in front of his crew. Avara's social and reformist theme and the tramp character, heavily inspired from Charlie Chaplin, made it an overnight success in India and abroad, particularly in the Soviet Union. It was nominated for the Grand Prize at the Cannes Festival in 1953. Time magazine declared Raj's acting as one of the top 10 performances of all time and included it in their selection of 10 Indian films to treasure and the all-time 100 greatest films of the world. From Avara, let's hear this beautiful song, which was part of a lavish dream sequence for which Raj Kapoor got a chemist and he was asked to create a cloud effect with dry ice. Let's hear Anita Sharma sing part of this dream sequence. In 1953, RK Films had their first flop when Ah failed at the box office and Raj Kapoor and Nargis experienced their first setback. But the trademark of Raj Kapoor's films, the excellent songs, became very popular. Let's hear the poignant Raja Ki Aayegi Barat from Raka Behel. राजा की आएगी बारात
राजा की आएगी बारात, रंगीली होगी रात, मगन मैं नाचूंगी, हो मगन मैं नाचूंगी। राजा की आएगी बारात, रंगीली होगी रात, मगन मैं नाचूंगी, हो मगन मैं नाचूंगी। राजा की आएगी बारात। राजा के माथे तिलक लगेगा, रानी के मांग सिंदूर, रानी के मांग सिंदूर। मैं भी अपने मन की आशा पूरी करूंगी जरूर, पूरी करूंगी जरूर। मेहंदी से पीले होंगे हाथ, सहेलियों के साथ, मगन मैं नाचूंगी, ओ मगन मैं नाचूंगी। राजा की आएगी बारात।
In 1954, Raj Kapoor produced Boot Polish, a film on destitute children and their struggle to escape from organized beggary, which received critical acclaim at the Cannes Film Festival and won the Filmfare Best Feature Film Award. Remember that song, Nanne Munne Bacche Teri Muthi Mein Kya Hai? And what is the reply? Muthi mein hai takdeer hamari, humne kismat ko bas mein kiya hai. Lovely words, lovely lyrics. RK's next production, Shri 420, again featured the lovable tramp seen earlier in Avara. And Raj Kapoor won the National Award for second best feature film in Hindi. And it became the highest grosser of the year, with outstanding popularity not only in India, but also abroad. And it brought the Raj Nargis pair back with a bang. There were many beautiful songs in this movie. Manna Day's club song, Mud Mud Ke Na Dekh, which had beautiful picturization and introduced Nadira as a stylish cigarette-smoking vamp, a role she played so well that she always complained that because of it, she was henceforth always typecast as the vamp. In Russia, 3 million viewers saw Shri 420, and when Raj and Nargis visited Moscow, they were constantly mobbed by crowds singing the simple tune and lyrics of our next song, the evergreen patriotic favorite, which Raj Sharma will sing, Mera Juta Hai Japani.
मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। मेरा जूता है जापानी। निकल पड़े हैं खुली सड़क पर, अपना सीना ताने, अपना सीना ताने। मंजिल कहाँ कहाँ रुकना है, ऊपर वाला जाने, ऊपर वाला जाने। बढ़ते जाएं हम सैलानी जैसे एक दरिया तूफानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तान। मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, मेरा जूता है जापानी।
Raj Kapoor's ability to wield magic through his song picturization has been acknowledged by all cinema makers. In Pyar Hua, Ikrar Hua Hai, he took Shankar Jaikishan's beautiful melody and Shailendra's lyrics on youthful love to another level. He remembered that as a child, he had requested his father to have the car drop him to school on a rainy day. But his father had refused, insisting that Raj take the tram like other school children and experience the reality of a common man's life. Raj used that experience to picturize the song on a rainy night with him and Nargis huddled under a single umbrella. There is a line in it, "Main na rahungi, tum na rahoge, phir bhi rahengi nishaniyan," for which he decided to use his own children, Randhir, Ritu, and Rishi, to symbolize those nishaniyan. The excited children were given new raincoats and waited impatiently for the shooting, but the rain did not materialize. At last, RK decided to use a cine prop, overhead sprinklers to fake falling rain. The only problem was that when the water splashed on the youngest child, Rishi, he would start crying inconsolably, and it seemed the shooting would have to be abandoned. It was only when Nargis promised Rishi a big box of his favorite chocolate that this iconic song was completed. Let's hear Pyar Hua Ikrar Hua Hai from Anita and Rakesh Sharma.
हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल। प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल।
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं कहाँ मंजिल। कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं कहाँ मंजिल।
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल।
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं कहाँ मंजिल।
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल। कहो कि अपनी प्रीत का गीत न बदलेगा कभी।
तुमने कहा इस राह का मीत न बदलेगा कभी। राज टूटा साज छूटा, चांद चमकेगा कभी।
हा 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 प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल।
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं कहाँ मंजिल।
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल।
Raj Kapoor would often send the 4 members of his music team to his cottage at Khandala to work together on the songs. On the way, they would take a break at a roadside cafe where one of the waiters happened to be a South Indian, Ramaiya. Shankar had grown up in Hyderabad and spoke Telugu fluently, so he would converse with the homesick Ramaiya in his native language. On one such trip, they signaled to Ramaiah to take their order, but he was serving another customer, so he gestured that he would join them shortly. But some time passed and an impatient Shankar started calling out, Ramaiah Vastavaya, Ramaiah Vastavaya, Ramaiah, won't you come? Jai Kishan started to beat rhythm on the table, and this went on for some time, till Hasrat, bored with the repetition, said, Bas itna hi. And immediately Shailendra added, Maine dil tujhko diya. And what started as a joke was loved so much by Raj Kapoor that he created a situation in Shri 420 to fit the song and insisted on retaining the Telugu words. Let's hear Ramaiah Vastavaya from General Gajria and Seema Mansingh.
Ramaiya Vastavaya, Ramaiya Vastavaya, Ramaiya Vastavaya, Ramaiya Vastavaya.
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया। मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया।
नैनों में थी प्यार की रोशनी, तेरी आंखों में ये दुनियादारी न थी, तेरी आंखों में ये दुनियादारी न थी।
तू और था, तेरा दिल और था, तेरे मन में ये मीठी कटारी न थी, तेरे मन में ये मीठी कटारी न थी।
मैं जो दुख पाऊं तो क्या, आज पछताऊं तो क्या, मैं जो दुख पाऊं तो क्या, आज पछताऊं तो क्या।
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया।
In 1956, Raj and Nargis starred in AVM Productions' first color film, Chori Chori. Shankar Jaikishan gave some outstanding music and won the Filmfare Award. From Isha Chauhan, let's hear the lyrical Aaja Sanam Madhur Chandni Mein Hum.
आजा सनम मधुर चांदनी में हम, तुम मिले तो वीराने में भी आ जाएगी बहार, झूमने लगेगा आसमां, झूमने लगेगा आसमां। कहता है दिल और मचलता है दिल, मुझे साजन ले चल मुझे तारों के पार, लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ, लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ। भीगी भीगी रात में दिल का दामन थाम ले, खोई खोई जिंदगी हरदम तेरा नाम ले। चांद की बहकी नजर कह रही है प्यार कर, जिंदगी है एक सफर कौन जाने कल किधर। चांद की बहकी नजर कह रही है प्यार कर, जिंदगी है एक सफर कौन जाने कल किधर। आजा सनम मधुर चांदनी में हम, तुम मिले तो वीराने में भी आ जाएगी बहार, झूमने लगेगा आसमां, लगेगा आसमां। कहता है दिल और मचलता है दिल, मोरे साजन ले चल मुझे तारों के पार। लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ, लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ।
Chori Chori was the last film in which Raj and Nargis worked together as a lead pair. Nargis was becoming increasingly frustrated that even after 10 years of an intense relationship, Raj Kapoor was unwilling to leave his wife and marry her. She appealed to Morarji Desai, who was drafting the Hindu Marriage Act, to find some solution by which she could marry the already married Raj Kapoor. But instead of getting any help, she was in fact scolded by Desai for what he called breaking Raj's marriage. For her, the lyrics of this song of Chori 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 must have seemed so apt. Rasik balma, dil kyun lagaya, to se dil kyun lagaya, jaise rog lagaya. But finally, in 1956, after having acted in 16 films together, of which 9 were from RK Films, Nargis ended the relationship, refused to act in any further films of RK, and signed up for Mehboob Khan's Mother India. In a later interview, Raj disclosed that Nargis always wore flat footwear to look shorter than Raj, who was not too tall. So when he noticed that she had started wearing high heels, he realized a new man, and a tall one, had entered her life. That tall man was, of course, Sunil Dutt, whom Nargis later married. Raj was brokenhearted. His wife Krishna recalled how he would come home late, hide himself in the bathroom from where she could hear him crying, would drink himself into a stupor, and this continued for many months till his passion for making films again revived. From Parvarish, let's hear the lyrics. Let's hear Aansu Bhari Hain Ye Jeevan Ki Raahein. The lyrics probably express what Raj must have been feeling at this phase in his life. Ajay Mankotia will sing it for us.
आंसू भरी है ये जीवन की राहें, कोई उनसे कह दे हमें भूल जाए। आंसू भरी है ये जीवन की राहें, कोई उनसे कह दे हमें भूल जाए। आंसू भरी है। वादे भुला दे, कसम तोड़ दे वो, वादे भुला दे, कसम तोड़ दे वो, हालत पे अपनी हमें छोड़ दे वो। ऐसे जहां से क्यों हम दिल लगाए, कोई उनसे कह दे हमें भूल जाए। आंसू भरी है।
In 1959, Raj and Nutan starred in the super hit Anadi, directed by Rishikesh Mukherjee. Raj Kapoor's music team created magic and won Filmfare Awards for composers Shankar Jaikishan, lyricist Shailendra, and singer Mukesh for this song, which Raj Sharma will sing, Kisi ki muskurahaton pe ho nisar.
किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है। किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है। माना अपनी जेब से फकीर हैं, फिर भी यारो दिल के हम अमीर हैं। माना अपनी जेब से फकीर हैं, फिर भी यारो दिल के हम अमीर हैं। मिटे जो प्यार के लिए वो जिंदगी, जले बहार के लिए वो जिंदगी, किसी को हो न हो हमें तो एतबार, जीना इसी का नाम है।
In Dil Hi To Hai, in a comic sequence, Raj Kapoor, pretending to be the aged Ustad Bade Ali Khan, gifted Indian film music one of the most iconic songs of all time. Taking inspiration from Kabir's Meri Chunri Mein Paragyo Daag Piya, Sahir Ludhianvi wrote the lyrics of this Rag Bhairav based song, sung so exquisitely by Manna Dey. Let's hear Laga Chunri Mein Daag from K.K. Mehta.
वो
सुरन 3 ग्राम बंसी बाजी रिजन जननी दनित दपपा मगर मधा गमगरिसा दादा गिरता चरण धरन धरत पाग परत नहीं परन झांझर जन के जन नन 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 नदीन तनु तन नन 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 नदीन तन तनु तन नदीन तन नदीन तन
In 1960, RK Films released its last black and white film, Jis Desh Mein Ganga Behti Hai, with Padmini, one of the famous Travancore sisters, as the new leading lady. It was inspired by initiatives of Vinoba Bhave and Jayaprakash Narayan to reform dacoits and bring them into mainstream society. When the story was narrated to the music team, Shankar, or Pehelwan as Raj called him, angrily stormed out, telling Raj, "How do you expect us to create music for such a story? Don't waste our time." Shailendra was sent after him to bring him back, and eventually the film had 9 songs, of which 8 were written by Shailendra. The one we are now going to hear is a perfect example of Raj Kapoor's vision and directorial mastery and the excellence of his music team. Shankar Jaikishan recorded this song at famous studio in Tardeo, which barely had enough space to accommodate the large orchestra of around 100 violinists and other musicians and a huge chorus. But when we see the sequence in the film's climax as the dacoits are being led by Raj Kapoor to surrender to the police, Shailendra's inspiring lyrics and Lata's soaring alaps make it one of the most powerful and moving of Raj Kapoor's songs. Let's hear Aa Ab Laut Chale from Ajay Mankotia.
अब लौट चले, अब लौट चले, नैन बिछाए बाहें पसारे, तुझको पुकारे देश तेरा। अब लौट चले, अब लौट चले, नैन बिछाए बाहें पसारे, तुझको पुकारे देश तेरा। सहज है सीधी राह पे चलना, देख के उलझन बच के निकलना। कोई ये चाहे माने न माने, बहुत है मुश्किल गिर के संभलना। अब लौट चले, अब लौट चले, नैन बिछाए बाहें पसारे, तुझको पुकारे देश तेरा।
Amazing alaps by Lata Mangeshkar. She deserves a full round of applause for just that. It's beautifully sung. In 1966, lyricist Shailendra decided to produce Teesri Kasam, a sensitive depiction of interaction between a simple, shy villager and a dancer of a traveling Nautanki company. The entire team pitched in to help their colleague, Shankar and Jaykishan, Hasrat Jaipuri, and of course, Raj Kapoor, who gave an outstanding performance as the simple villager. And Teesri Kasam has now been recognized as a classic. But though it won the National Best Feature Film Award, it fared so badly at the time that Shailendra was heartbroken, and the financial losses took such a toll on his health that aged only 43, he died that same year. Duniya banane wale, kya tere man mein samai? Asks Rakesh Sharma.
दुनिया बनाने वाले क्या तेरे मन में समाई, काहे को दुनिया बनाई तूने, काहे को दुनिया बनाई। दुनिया बनाने वाले क्या तेरे मन में समाई, काहे को दुनिया बनाई तूने, काहे को दुनिया बनाई। काहे बनाए तूने माटी के पुतले, धरती ये प्यारी प्यारी मुखड़े ये उजले। काहे बनाया तूने दुनिया का खेला, काहे बनाया तूने दुनिया का खेला, इसमें लगाया जवानी का मेला। गुपचुप तमाशा देखे वाह रे तेरी खुदाई, काहे को दुनिया बनाई तूने, काहे को दुनिया बनाई। दुनिया बनाने वाले क्या तेरे मन में समाई, काहे को दुनिया बनाई तूने, काहे को दुनिया बनाई।
18th June 1964 was a milestone for RK Films when Sangam was released. It was their first film in Technicolor and so lavish that it required the Sangam of three of the biggest production houses of that time, Mehboob Studio and Filmistan, to jointly fund this project with Raj Kapoor. It was the first Indian film to be shot in Europe, and it was so long that it had 2 intervals. But the audience loved it and went again and again to see the movie. For the female lead, Raj Kapoor had selected the South Indian beauty Vijayanthimaala, to whom he had narrated the story. When it was finalized, she was in Chennai, so in true showman style, he sent her a telegram asking, "Bol Radha bol, Sangam hoga ki nahi?" After a few days of silence, Raj received a reply, "Hoga, hoga, zarur hoga." Shailendra, of course, used this incident to create the lyrics of "Tere man ki Ganga aur mere man ki Jamuna ka, bol Radha bol, Sangam hoga ki nahi." In the film and also in real life, the Sangam of the lead pair became so intense that, enraged by the affair, Raj's wife took their children and moved to a hotel. And it was only after Raj promised that he would not work with Vijayanthimaala after the film was over that Krishna returned home. And after Sangam was released, Vijayanthimaala married Dr. Bali. Sangam had many outstanding songs. Part of the lyrics of our next one, "Ye mera prem patra padkar, tum naraz na hona," had actually been written by lyricist Hasrat in his youth to a girl named Radha who lived opposite his house in Jaipur. That poem was never delivered because Hasrat was afraid of Radha's reaction. But Raj Kapoor delivered it to the world, and this song has become almost the anthem for all love-struck young men. All those who remember the movie would also recall that throughout the film, Vijayanthimaala was shown wearing white saris. This was again a throwback to Raj's own life. When he first saw his future wife Krishna, she had been wearing a pristine white sari, and that for him became the symbol of grace and feminine purity and was a recurring image in all his films. Let's hear the romantic Mera Prem Patra Padkar from K.K. Mehta.
हसीना या दिलरुबा हैरान हूँ कि आपको इस खत में क्या लिखूं। ये मेरा प्रेम पत्र पढ़कर कि तुम नाराज ना होना, कि तुम मेरी जिंदगी हो, कि तुम मेरी बंदगी हो। ये मेरा प्रेम पत्र पढ़कर कि तुम नाराज ना होना, कि तुम मेरी जिंदगी हो, कि तुम मेरी बंदगी हो। तुझे मैं चांद कहता था, मगर उसमें भी दाग है। तुझे मैं चांद कहता था, मगर उसमें भी दाग है। तुझे सूरज मैं कहता था, मगर उसमें भी आग है। तुझे इतना ही कहता हूँ कि मुझको तुमसे प्यार है, तुमसे प्यार है, तुमसे प्यार है। ये मेरा प्रेम पत्र पढ़कर कि तुम नाराज ना
Rajendra Kumar, who acted in the third part of the triangle of Sangam, in an interview said that he had complained to Raj about the lyrics of Sangam's most iconic song, Dost Dost Na Raha, Pyar Pyar Na Raha. How can you call the Dost Dost Na Raha when in the story it is the Dost who has sacrificed his own love for his friend? And how can you say Pyar Pyar Na Raha when the heroine has sacrificed her own love interest to marry you in the film? But Raj, of course, was a total master at using a song to weave the narrative and carry the emotion forward. Flashbacks of Radha and Gopal's affair, which were shown throughout the song, took it to another level of cinematography. Tragically, the lyrics proved prophetic in real life, because this song actually created differences between composers Shankar and Jaikishan. They had a pact that no matter which of the two of them had composed a tune, the final song was always to be attributed to both of them. Shankar had composed Dost Na Raha to Shailendra's lyrics and had even played the beautiful introductory piano pieces himself, because he considered it as one of his masterpieces. So when Binaka Geetmala rated Hasrat and Jaikishan's Mera Prem Patra higher in popularity, Shankar couldn't believe how such a lightweight song could supersede his soulful composition. He accused Jaikishan of violating their agreement and using his popularity with the media to disclose which composer had composed which song. This led to such bitterness between them that these two friends could well say, Dost Dost Na Raha. Let's hear the song from Rakesh Sharma.
दोस्त दोस्त ना रहा, प्यार प्यार ना रहा, जिंदगी हमें तेरा एतबार ना रहा, एतबार ना रहा, दोस्त दोस्त ना रहा, प्यार प्यार ना रहा, जिंदगी हमें तेरा एतबार ना रहा, एतबार ना रहा. अमानतें में प्यार की गया था जिसको सौंप कर, वो मेरे दोस्त तुम ही थे, तुम ही तो थे, जो जिंदगी की राह में बने थे मेरे हम सफर, वो मेरे दोस्त तुम ही थे, तुम ही तो थे. सारे भेद खुल गए, राज़दार ना रहा, जिंदगी हमें तेरा एतबार ना रहा, एतबार ना रहा.
I'm so sorry, because of the shortage of time, we're just giving you a small jhalak of all these songs. So you're hearing only the antaras, one antara of each song. Out of all his movies, it was Mera Naam Joker, released in 1970, which was not only the most autobiographical, but also, as Raj Kapoor openly said, was closest to his heart. Although he won the Filmfare Award for Best Director and Shankar Jaikishan for Best Music, and though today it is regarded as a classic which came much ahead of the understanding of the cinegoer, its rejection and commercial failure left him brokenhearted. He had been so confident of its success that he had mortgaged his house and was planning a sequel. Instead, he was forced to sell 1/4 of the land of his beloved RK studio to clear his debts. जाने कहाँ गए वो दिन, General Gajria. After the failure of Mera Naam Joker, RK Films now had to do something to recover their losses. Raj Kapoor made the most daring choice of his career by selecting to make a bubbly, romantic, completely commercial, youthful love story, Bobby. He wanted to cast Rajesh Khanna, but couldn't afford him. So he took two youngsters, Dimple Kapadia and his own son, Rishi. His daring paid off. Bobby became a huge youth cult film and broke all records at the box office. During its making, another romance was blooming. Breaking the hearts of many of his fans, superstar Rajesh Khanna married Dimple Kapadia. For Rishi's playback voice, a new singer, Shailendra Singh, was selected, and Lakshmikant Pyarelal were appointed the film's music composers. Let's hear Dhruv Behel sing The Innocent, Main Shayer To Nahi.
प्यार का नाम मैंने सुना था, मगर प्यार क्या है ये मुझको नहीं थी खबर। प्यार का नाम मैंने सुना था, मगर प्यार क्या है ये मुझको नहीं थी खबर। मैं तो उलझा रहा उलझनों की तरह, दोस्तों में रहा दुश्मनों की तरह। मैं दुश्मन तो नहीं, मैं दुश्मन तो नहीं, मगर हंसी जब से देखा मैंने तुझको, मुझको दोस्ती आ गई। मैं शायर तो नहीं, मैं शायर तो नहीं, मगर हंसी जब से देखा मैंने तुझको, मुझको शायरी आ गई।
The story of RK's next venture, Satyam Shivam Sundaram, was inspired by Lata Mangeshkar. In fact, Raj Kapoor wanted to cast her in the lead role to show the relative insignificance of physical beauty as compared to the inner beauty of the voice and soul. Lata naturally refused, and the role was then given to Zeenat Aman. Raj Kapoor continued to produce and direct films, but gave up acting. In 1985, he launched his younger son Rajiv opposite Mandakini in Ram Teri Ganga Maili, which was declared the best film of 1985 and won him the Best Director and Best Editor award. Ravindra Jain, who composed its music in just 7 days, won his first Filmfare Award for its exquisite music. Let's hear the lilting Sun Sahiba Sun from Seema Mansingh.
सुन सुन साहिबा सुन प्यार की धुन। ओ मैंने तुझे चुन लिया, तू भी मुझे चुन। आ, आ, हसीना कदम पहले बढ़ाती नहीं, मजबूर दिल से ना हो तो पास आती नहीं। ओ मजबूर दिल से ना हो तो पास आती नहीं। खुशी मेरे दिल को हद से ज्यादा है, तेरी संग जिंदगी बिताने का इरादा है। ओ प्रीत की मिली मुझे तुम आ, आ,
In Prem Rog, a movie on widow remarriage, Raj cast Rishi Kapoor opposite Padmini Kolhapure, and then for Henna opposite the Pakistani actress Zeba Bakhtiar. Ravindra Jain again excelled in composing some outstanding songs. Let's hear one of them from Chitra Kumar, Chittiye.
गर्द फिराक वालिए ले जा सनेड़ा सुन यार दा ले जा संदेसा सुन यार दा तेनू वास्ता ए दिल दी पुकार दा चिट्ठी सनेड़ा सुन यार दा ओ ले जा संदेसा सुन यार दा पले विच अग दे अंगारे नहीं लुकदे ओ पले विच अग दे अंगारे नहीं लुकदे इश्क ते मुश्क छुपाए नहीं छुपदे फिर भी राज जान जाती है दुनिया होठों पे लगा ले चाहे ताले कोई चुप दे होठों से लगा ले चाहे ताले कोई चुप दे ओ बूटा पत्थरा ते उगदा ए प्यार दा चिट्ठिए दर्द फिराक वालिए ले जा सनेड़ा सुन यार दा ओ ले जा संदेसा सुन यार दा
What made RK movies so special, so different? I think it's because within the constraints of commercialism, Raj Kapoor reached out to vast audiences with messages of social concern, displayed his mastery in front of and behind the camera, and presented stories which blended brilliant cinematography with songs which were skillfully woven into the fabric of the story. Music was always an important feature. And since Raj had learned classical music and knew how to play the tabla, sitar, harmonium, and piano, his understanding of music helped in the creation of the iconic RK songs. Let's hear one of them from Seema and Raj Sharma, Jani Na Nazar.
जाने न नजर पहचाने जिगर ये कौन जो दिल पर छाया
मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया जाने न नजर पहचाने जिगर, ये कौन जो दिल पर छाया, मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया, मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया। आवाज ये किसकी आती है, जो छेड़ के दिल को जाती है, आवाज ये किसकी आती है, जो छेड़ के दिल को जाती है, मैं सुन के उसे शर्मा जाऊं, है कौन जो मुझ में समाया, मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया, मेरा अंग अंग मुस्काया।
जाने न नजर पहचान जिगर, ये कौन दिल पर छाया, मुझे रोज रोज तड़पाया, मुझे रोज रोज तड़पाया।
RK Films received numerous film awards, and Raj Kapoor himself was felicitated with the Padma Bhushan in 1971. His family had become a film dynasty, starting from his father Prithviraj, his celebrity brothers Shammi and Shashi, his own sons Randhir, Rajiv and Rishi, his bahus Babita and Neetu, and his grandchildren Karishma, Kareena and Randhir. The Hindi film fraternity acknowledged his contribution and regarded him as a living legend. But by the time he became 64, the incessant hard work, the emotional ups and downs, the drain of creative energy, and his medical ailments, especially asthma, had to a large extent exhausted him. Most of the companions whom he had loved, Nargis, Mukesh, Jai Kishan, and Shailendra, had passed on, and now he felt lonely and in a creative void. In 1987, he was invited to Delhi to be honored with the highest cinematic recognition, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award at Sri Fort Auditorium. He had been experiencing severe breathing problems all day, but due to security reasons, his oxygen cylinder was not allowed into the hall. When his name was announced, he was gasping for breath and turning blue. Breaking protocol, the president came down from the stage to honor him, and summoning all his strength, amidst thunderous applause, Raj Kapoor rose to receive the last award of his life. Just a few minutes later, he collapsed, was rushed to All India Medical Institution, where 1 month later, he breathed his last on 2nd June, 1988. So obsessed was he with his films that in an interview he had said, "When I die, bring my body to my studio. It's quite possible that I may wake up from the dead and start shouting, 'Action, action.'" But alas, that was not to be. But do legends ever die? Doesn't their heritage of remarkable work immortalize them? Let's end our tribute to one of the greatest superstars of Hindi cinema with a few lines of this iconic song from Mera Naam Joker, which he himself regarded as representing an artist's life. Kal khel mein hum ho na ho, गर्दिश में तारे रहेंगे सदा, भूलोगे तुम भूलेंगे वो, पर हम तुम्हारे रहेंगे सदा, रहेंगे यहीं अपने निशान, इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ, जीना यहाँ मरना यहाँ, इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ, जी चाहे जब हमको आवाज दो, हम हैं वही हम थे जहाँ अपने यहीं दोनों जहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ. Good night and thank you.
Wonderfully said, Neeraj. That was so aptly ended, and what a wonderful tribute. Raj, could I ask a small favor? We would like to spotlight each artist and give them a round of applause. If you could help us do that. I think we could start with Seema. Seema Mansingh.
Yeah, I'll spotlight everyone together.
Yeah,
Go
Seema, that
ahead.
was so brilliant. We just loved the way you started the program with that song. And Anita and Rakesh, thank you so much. You were beautiful in tandem and the pitch was perfect.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. I think you guys are just going from strength to strength.
Thank you so much.
What about General Kajaria?
Yeah.
Yeah, we really enjoyed you and Seema and that duet and even otherwise.
Thank you.
And you're on your way home, it seems, huh? Are you in the car?
Now I'm in the car. Earlier I was.
Yes.
Okay. Earlier I was at home.
Yeah.
So last 3 songs I've been listening in the car.
Yeah, and then we have KK and Raka and Dhruv. Both were excellent.
And Isha.
Isha Chauhan, yes. I hope I haven't. And Ajay, where's Ajay Mankotia?
Ajay Mankotia, Chitra.
Chitra, yes. Chitra was also very well sung. And then I think, and Dhruv, is he there too?
No, he's left. He's
okay. Gone. Well, thank you so much. It was such a wonderful evening. And Seema and Raj always have stars. Yes. I think they always win the show with their little gimmicks and the topi and the little lal dupatta. Yeah, it was real fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us over. Thank you.
And over to the General. I think he'd like to say a few words of thanks as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Vinita, for getting me to say the last few sentences on the program. What a great finale. What a great finale to our mini spring festival. I must tell you all who have participated here that we've had a month-long mini list festival, primarily because we couldn't have a physical one. We were not very sure whether we were able to hold a physical program or not. So we chose to do it on the Zoom. And of course, the guiding principle was that we will spend no money on it and yet create a program which will be so enjoyable. We picked up some very nice subjects for the discussions on issues concerning law, on issues concerning international relations, and many such programs. And of course, the really large number of people who attended were the 2 beautiful musical evenings. I think we really need to thank Lata Mangeshkar's program and Raj Kapoor's program. And I think thanks are overdue, more than overdue, to Neelam Kohli ji. You made such a beautiful program on Lata. You made such a beautiful program on Raj Kapoor. Are really, really grateful thanks to you. Our thanks are also due to Ajay Mankotia, who sang so beautifully, not only today, but even on the previous occasion at Lata Mangeshkar. We want to really thank Seema and Raj, our very own artists, with their topis and with their continuous drinking of coffee. I'm not too sure what he was drinking because coffee couldn't have lasted that long. So it transpired that he's keeping his throat clean. Perhaps I would still like to keep it with myself as to what is his favorite drink. And of course, Mr. Dhruv Bell, thank you so much for co-hosting this program, Dhruv Saab. It was so wonderful. And the selection of songs was outstanding. The commentary given by Neelam was fantastic. I think everybody was really spellbound to the way that you have woven the whole thing together and made us all so spellbound on our last event of the month of the Mini Lit Fest. This gives us tremendous ideas and hope that we will very soon, whether it's a Lit Fest or no Lit Fest, we will certainly have a musical evening live in our auditorium or in our club. and we would request all of you to please come. We will choose a good enough date which suits all of you, the Luft family, and we look forward to having you physically on our stage, singing in the same manner and comparing it in the same manner as you've done it today, Neelamji. Think of another subject on which you would like to base your next program of music, and we will do it very soon because people are now getting addicted to this kind of program. This is a second program. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
It's really true. I mean, people are getting addicted to it. And for the next program, I assure you that we'll physically give you some nice drinks at the end of it. Unlike Raj and Seema, who were drinking coffee all the time, we'll give you much better drinks than that. Once again, thank you so much. And I really mean it on my behalf and behalf of all members of my committee and all residents of Vasant Vihar, that you couldn't have created a more fantastic entertainment evening than what you've done today.
Thank you.
We're really,
Thank you
really
so
very
much.
grateful to you. And Raj, for getting all your colleagues from the Luft to come here. And of course, finally, once again, Neelamji, you are an outstanding compere. You are an outstanding compere and a great storyteller. You are a great storyteller. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her all of these artists a great clap. And of course, Vinita, you are doing a lovely job. And then look at the number of chats we got. I mean, by the scores of them. And everybody is so thrilled. And after each of these numbers that were sung, there were comments from everyone. Sanjana Raj was writing all the time. And Sanjana, of course, has been a co-host on all these programs. Sanjana, thanks very much. And of course, Usha ji has been witnessing all of it and nodding her head. She's herself a singer. And I think next time Usha ji will also participate in this program and we do it live. Raj, is there anybody I need to I have forgotten? I think there are many. And I think Vinita did a wise thing by getting everybody a clap. So ladies and gentlemen, let's join each other to give all our artists of Look a great clap. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
General Prasad, I sent you a proposal on WhatsApp. Dekh lijiyega.
About my evening drink.
Prompt as ever, Raj.
Was it about the evening drink or about something else?
No, this is
Excellent
different from my
evening.
Nescafe mug.
Yeah, I could see the Nescafe mug, but that's why I was suspecting what the hell is going on inside it.
Oh, that's always a little deceptive.
Yeah. Well, yes, I'll read your message and we will definitely take it forward. But I'm serious that Luft has got to come to a stage physical here and do a program for us.
So then, Neelamji, you've got your answer.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
said people getting too much of you. We haven't had enough as yet.
I was suspecting that you might say, "Phir aa gaye ye log."
Not at all. It's
very
always a
inspiring.
pleasure, and you were just amazing as always.
और आपसे ये कर रहे हैं कि फिर आइएगा, आपका इंतजार कर रहे हैं हम लोग यहाँ.
जी.
Thank you so much. हम जरूर हाजिर होंगे, जरूर. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Good night.
Good night.